dance our way in. All right, we are live. We did it. Welcome everyone to the One More Page virtual space. I'm Amanda. I'm going to be your host for this evening, your ghost host, as it were, or your fun Christmas host, depending on which side of the spectrum you fall.
Hey, Christmas has ghosts too. Don't forget that.
Your elf on the bookshelf.
So yeah, we'll just say ghost host for whatever type of holiday you prefer. I'm so excited to welcome these amazing authors to One More Page. We have the amazing Chuck Wendig and Tiffany Schmidt here today to talk about which is better, Halloween or Christmas, and also about their books, I guess. But I'll just do a quick introduction for you guys, and then I'll get out of your hair and let you, start firing up the cannons or whatever it is you have prepared here.
Holiday cannons.
Yes, it's all candy and candy canes. So first, because she's first alphabetically by last name, we'll introduce Tiffany Schmidt. Tiffany is a former 6th grade teacher. She lives in Pennsylvania with her family and spent their time baking cookies, chasing her sons and dog around the backyard, and writing the kissing scenes first. Excellently done there, Tiffany. In addition to her latest book, I'm Dreaming of a Wyatt Christmas, Tiffany is the author of the Bookish Boyfriend series, which is A Day with Darcy, The Boy Next Story, Talk Nerdy to Me, and this Bible doesn't have the 4th book, which is the amazing Sherlock Holmes one, but they're all great, as well as 4 other books for young adults. So welcome to Tiffany.
Yay. Thank you.
I'm assuming everyone in the audience is clapping at home, so.
Absolutely. Very loudly.
And then joining her this evening, we have Chuck Wendig, who is the New York Times, USA Today, and LA Times bestselling author of numerous novels for adults and young adults, including the Star Wars Aftermath trilogy, the Miriam Black series Wanderers, and the Book of Accidents. And the book we're discussing today, Dust and Grimm, is his middle grade debut. So cheers and applause for Chuck. Great book holding up, everyone. We really, really crushed it. Our one bit of housekeeping for everyone watching before we go, feel free to post comments, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or somewhere else somehow. And I'll be able to keep an eye on those. If you have questions for our amazing authors, feel free to post them. They'll do a Q&A at the end, but I'll keep an eye on them as we scroll through. So if you don't want to forget your question, you can just go ahead and pop it in the comments. Tiffany, Chuck, anything you guys need from me?
No, I think we're golden.
Great. Then I'm getting out of here. Have fun.
Chuck. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I can't complain, though I'm going to take my AirPods out if that's not a problem.
Yeah.
I realized I didn't have them on. I was just kind of muting you and wearing them as an accessory. So
that's fine. You look great. Congratulations. You have a new book this week.
Yes. Yesterday. Finally.
Wow. Yeah, you got kind of caught up in, just like I did, in the supply chain madness, which is a good excuse to tell everyone now, again, if you have books you want to buy for Christmas, that holiday we're going to talk about.
Or Halloween.
Or Halloween. Yeah, it's really close.
Really pre-order the Halloween ones.
Yeah, really pre-order. So it occurs to me we're sort of doing like just a Nightmare Before Christmas battle here.
Yes, we are.
We're colliding. Do you like that movie?
I don't know that I've seen it, which is weird because Chuck and I know each other in real life. We should mention that, not just on the interwebs. And I'm a Disney fanatic.
That's true.
But I don't know why that. I don't know. It looks spooky to me.
It's a little spooky, but I think it's a nice spook. It's a nice spooky.
As like a 40-year-old, I should be able to handle it.
Yeah, I think you probably. I mean, there's a few things you're like, ugh, but then it gets great. It's a nice, very nice. It's nice as cookies. Yeah. So, I know we're gonna do like our battle. We're gonna Halloween versus Christmas. I think.
Crush it. Did you see my Nutcracker shirt?
Yeah, I just have these guys. I have to figure out where I'm at on this camera because everything is reversed. But first, we should talk about your book. That's exciting. So,
and your book.
And all books.
all the books in the world. Let's just talk about it.
Yeah, your book came out, and it's a young adult romance. Do I have that accurate, right?
Yeah.
Where does that book come from? Where because it's a Christmas themed, and it's a great punny title, which is always
a great punny title.
Yeah.
I'm Dreaming of a Wyatt Christmas. It came out yesterday. It is on the younger spectrum of YA, though of course could be read by anyone. But the protagonists are freshmen, which I love to write freshmen. I just finished the whole Bookish Boyfriend series, and those were all also freshmen. because I think it is such a fun age of change and figuring out who you are in a new environment and a new school where some of the training wheels have been taken off for the first time. So in I'm Dreaming of a Wyatt Christmas, I always say it's kind of a mashup of like Babysitter's Club meets like Dance Academy set in like a Hallmark Christmas movie. In that the main character, Noelle, is known for being three things in her small town. She has the most Christmas spirit, she's the best babysitter, and she's an amazing ballerina. And this year she has secretly applied to attend a prestigious ballet academy. And in order to be able to afford it, she accepts this Christmas babysitting job at a ski mountain. And little does she know that her babysitting charge's older stepbrother is going to show up. And he is a dancer at this prestigious ballet academy. And because of that, she's kind of smitten with the idea of him. And now the reality is he's here. He's got his own agenda for the trip and doesn't want her there. And, you know, there's secrets and swooning and all of the holiday magic. But yeah, it's pretty much my ode to Hallmark Christmas movies and things that make cozy feelings in your heart.
Do you have like a favorite Hallmark Christmas movie? Something that
I don't, because they're all, you know, they're all kind of the same mashup of whatever, of like, you know, cantankerous businessman who meets an indie bookstore owner and his heart melts and he's a single dad and, you know, he's a quirky kindergarten teacher and she slips on the sidewalk and he catches her. And then there's Coco and kissing and it's wonderful.
Coco and kissing. There's a title right there.
Right there.
Right
and
there.
Someone's a prince, you know, like
Prince.
That has to happen.
Yeah. Now, are you also like the veritable avatar of Christmas spirit? Do you feel like you are that? Or are you, I mean, do you love Christmas? I mean, is that?
I do. Yeah, I definitely do. I am the person that's like, all right, let's put it up. Let's get out the bins and bins. Today, when I was making my tea before the event, I was like, I need a Christmas mug. And my husband, Matt, was like, that is the bottom bin. No. And I was like, come on. He's like, there's like 4 bins on top of it. No.
Yeah. I see you've already got a Christmas tree.
One of several. I cannot figure out which way I'm supposed to lean. My goal in life is to live in like a Christmas tree farm, a la Taylor Swift song, which I'm sure you're a huge fan.
Yes, I am.
But we have like four trees at this point. And
all like the
plastic.
Or,
all plastic. Yeah.
Do you miss
the
real trees?
Keep them up forever.
So that's why I like the artificials, but I also sometimes miss the weird ritual of going out and chopping down trees and doing that. But then like it goes badly. Like there's eventually a point when that goes poorly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't miss the vacuuming of like the needles, you know, a dog walks by and all of a sudden it's needle confetti.
It sheds everything in one moment and then Charlie Brown.
Wait a minute. I feel like you're talking negatively about Christmas. You're like,
I would never do that. I would not try to passively, aggressively try to ding Christmas now. Because I'm just saying, you don't have that problem with Halloween.
Excuse me, I have pumpkins rotting all over my front porch right now.
Yeah, my son's pumpkin just rotted already. The one he carved at school.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it kind of collapsed, and then ants found it, which feels very Halloween-y in a sort of grim way. Like, it looked kind of additionally spooky, but not a good look. But we carved new ones. And that's the good thing about nature makes a lot of pumpkins.
I carved one yesterday. Which way do I have to lean? I don't know if you can see it back there, but I carved a Christmas tree in it just for you.
Oh my gosh. It's like you've corrupted Halloween with your Christmas. You've done that already.
Of Grimm. You just said it. Tell us about Dustin Grimm.
Dustin Grimm, my first middle grade. It's about a young girl named Molly Grimm who inherits a funeral home for monsters, but she must share that inheritance with a brother she's never met. So it's got sibling rivalry and a monstrous cemetery and supernatural shenanigans and a thing called a florg, which I'm getting some emails about in the positive way about florg. People seem to like florg. So we'll see.
I am right here in the book, and I just met florg like 15 pages ago.
Florg. Yeah, I like that they gave florg his own font. I felt very special.
Yes.
That's very nice. So and it has art by Jensen Eckwell, a wonderful illustrator, kind of a Edward Gorey-ish sort of vibe. which was very excited. So yeah, it's been a ride. It's been a different experience because you've written young adult kind of the whole time. Do I have that right?
This is my 9th young adult novel.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I also have a picture book, but that was kind of like a one-off fun thing to do. But yeah, so it is. I have kind of changed within that space from some of the older teens going younger, just because I felt like it was a market that was being ignored. There is a lot of reading up that happens, and what happens to those middle schoolers who are ready to start being like, what's high school going to be like? Yeah. And they're reading a lot of books about 17 and 18-year-olds that are very different than the problems that freshmen are facing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Have you read your books? Have you tried it? Have they done it?
They're not interested. They've read your book.
Yeah. I'm amazed that my son read my book because he, up until now, he's like kind of, even like the Star Wars books. He loves Star Wars, but he like seems excited that I know other Star Wars authors less than me. He's like, yeah, I mean, whatever. It's like, okay, I get it. So I'm like, I'm writing you a book. I'm doing it. And that's kind of almost the whole point of writing Dustin Grimm was like, I'm writing you a book.
Aww.
You can ignore it now. I'll make you love this book.
Now, had he read any of it while you were writing it or no?
Not one bit. He wanted to wait till it was done. And then even when the arcs came in, he was like, well, I want the ones with the final arc because half the art was missing the arcs.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. You're holding out for the hardcover. I get it. It's the cherrier version. I understand.
And he and the twins were kind of racing. I don't know who finished first.
Oh, the twins. The twins definitely finished first. I think he came in a couple days after. Yeah.
Yeah. I got lots of like, why don't you write a book like that? I was like, I love you too.
Yeah. It's like my son. He's like, why don't you write a Minecraft book? I'm like, I can't just do that. Like, I can't. Okay, I did it. I did it. They let me do it. It's great.
Yeah. You're like, you go write a Minecraft book.
You do it. A person who has no abilities to do anything. Yeah. I don't know. So far he did seem to like it. He gave me a nice 2-star review on Amazon. I feel very good about that. I was like, could have been a 1-star. I feel like it's good. It's really nice.
Good job, buddy.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh my goodness. So how was it different writing for middle grade? Like, I'm very curious about how your process was different or like any part of it.
Yeah, not too different. Like it was, I mean, the actual process itself was no different. I mean, this kind of the day-to-day, you sit down and, make weird stuff happen on a paper was the same. And, at the end of the day, there are shared bones between all of the stories. And actually, I think young adult is the hardest of the genres that I've written. Because I feel you're really trying to encapsulate that experience of being a teenager. And it's a very visceral internal realm. There's a lot going on that's kind of like in here, and you still have to have stuff happening while dealing with the in here. And middle grade is a little less interior in my sort of at least experience. Like so many of these books are kind of great in that it's like a lot of stuff doesn't stick to the protagonists in that sort of way that it affects adults or teens. They just kind of like go from adventure to adventure and have these sort of experiences. And it's not to say they aren't changed by it or there's not character growth, but it doesn't feel quite as chewy and internal as some of the other stuff goes. So kind of having that, experience and trying to figure out how you not talk down to kids, but also sort of like give them an adventure that feels kid-like at the same time. This was tricky. So yeah, it's different, but not that different, I don't think. Plus, I'm like a 12-year-old intellectually at times, so it was easy to be like, yeah, I can do this. I can do that.
Well, and it was interesting reading, Dustin Grimm, because the book opens with Molly's dad's dead. And she's meeting her brother. I'm not spoiling anything. I won't spoil anything if you don't spoil anything because I haven't finished it. But her dad is dead and she's meeting her brother for the first time.
Yeah.
And I feel like what's so lovely is it goes right into the adventure, where if like that was the YA novel, the whole book would be about processing the fact that she's just learned about a secret brother and her dad has died and what is the trauma.
It'd be a book before this one to get to this. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. In fact, one of the subplots in Wyatt Christmas is that Noelle's mother had passed away several years before. Okay. And one of the arcs in here is her kind of processing that grief in a different way. So here we are years later, and it's coming up through these holidays. in like a lot of her interiority and motivating how she's acting and things, where Molly just gets to be like, all right, cool, monsters, let me go explore.
I just want this. I want this now, and let's do this. And then, shenanigans ensue. Do you, like, what is your process for writing? I mean, do you have a basic sort of daily thing you do, or is it a little more chaotic? I know every writer is their own animal when it comes to writing.
There always is. And then, with small children, everything goes topsy-turvy. And, as you well know, with the pandemic, everything was kind of upside down. And Wyatt Christmas, I signed the contract for this book in March 2020.
Oh, no.
This book I started writing when my kids came home for spring break, and then they never went back. So at that time, my preschooler had no school. The twins had kind of on and off again school that was certainly not full time. And it was like a 5-hour job to find groceries and toilet paper. So it did not leave what had been my normal writing schedule, which would be, drop the preschooler at school, go home, write frantically until I picked him up,
Right.
And spend the rest of the day like planning on receipts or in notes on my phone, so that when I sat down at nighttime, I could be super productive. And all of a sudden I didn't have any of that.
Yeah, blew that all up.
Yeah. So, and I mean, we were in each other's lives. Like, I was a zombie at that point in time. I was just like this ball of stress. And a lot of my writing time, the only time I could get was to set my alarm for 3 a.m.
Oh my gosh. You're going to 3 a.m?
3 a.m. I would write until I like passed out at night at like 11 or 12.
Yeah.
And then I would get up at 3 and write until 5 when my youngest woke up. And it was miserable. It's not something I recommend. But I was so sleep deprived that the only way I could make myself write was to make this book as happy as possible.
Sure.
It was like, it had to be so enticing and so safe to, so it was like every cozy thing I could think of, like every cozy texture piece that I could put in there, I did, because then it became this happy thing, like this joyous place where I would sit down, I'd light like a balsam candle, I'd put on the nutcracker, and I would write, and it was very, very escapist. And I think that translates. I think that it reads that cozy because of that. I needed it to be that.
You were living that Christmas spirit.
I was.
In like April and May of 2020 as the pandemic was rising all around us. That's amazing.
And then my 3-year-old would like creep in the room, and I'd be like, "Go back to bed."
Merry Christmas, leave me alone. Like, oh God, oh no.
Yeah.
So has it changed since now? I mean, have you started to get a little of the writing groove back, or is it kind of?
Well, it's interesting. And I don't want to concede this because this is your holiday, but my kids are back in school this year for the first time. And it's the first time my youngest has ever been in school.
Yeah,
and so now I have time, which of course I do things like I blew up my website the first week of school by accident. And
sure. Why not? Just keeping it real.
Yeah. So like, things like that happen and you're like, oh, there goes a week of writing time. But it's funny, like now sitting down and having this book turned in and nothing under edits, nothing due. It's like, what do I want to write? And I was like, I want to write something scary. Nice. So I feel like the world is starting to feel a little safer again. Yeah. So I'm willing to go scary. And I feel like, I don't know what you think about this, but I feel like TV and entertainment is going that way too. Like we were all so Ted Lasso and like Bridgerton and like reruns last year. And now like Squid Games and like scary things. And it's like, I don't know why that is. What do you think?
I think some of it is like we want to contextualize. Like horror is a great place. I would say it's like summoning like the old wizards of yore who would summon demons into a summoning circle, and they would be trapped there and they could deal with the demons in this kind of safe space. And I always feel like writing horror and reading it and experiencing, watching it has that sense of like it's controlling your fear. You have a place where you can experience cathartic fear and emotion, but like you can turn it off or close the book or run out of the haunted house, whatever it is.
Right.
You can control that experience a little more, and it's usually like some degrees off of reality. So it's not like you're reading something that's straight up exactly the thing you're afraid of. It's either a metaphor for it or it's 10 doors down, so you don't quite recognize this particular thing. And it keeps it interesting. And I think it's why maybe horror was big in the 80s, because there was just a lot of emotional turmoil and strife and stuff went on at society level that people kind of wanted that stuff. So I'll be curious to see if it continues or if it's like we want both Ted Lasso and Squid Games. Like we need both of those things to be whole right now. We need the sort of complicated joy of Ted Lasso in the dangerous horror competition of Squid Games. It'd be interesting to see how it shakes out in the new year.
Right. And I couldn't do Squid Games. Like I know people who love it.
I haven't yet. I haven't yet.
For me.
Yeah, and I like freaky, bleak stuff, and even that feels like a little right now. Yeah.
So I
feel like I'm conceding to you on that. Yeah.
But it was too much for me.
Yeah. But I also like Midnight Mass, I loved on Netflix as like a horror thing because that was really, I adored that. That's a weird thing. I never know when horror is going to be too bleak, but there's some things that I always just feel like it's too much, which is strange emotionally. Like at this time, like the thing you're like, no, that's a bridge too far.
Well, and it's interesting because I feel like kids are so good at self-censoring, or a lot of kids are. I was not. I was that kid that I would keep going back to R.L. Stine and Christopher Pike, even though they were so scary for me, but it was like I couldn't stop. Or I'd be like, this time I'm braver. But as soon as I cracked the cover, I had to read it straight through because I needed to get to the resolution.
Yeah, it was like holding your breath by a cemetery. Like, oh, we gotta go. Yeah.
Right. Like I had to, so even if I was up all night, like I had to do it. And like the same with the scary movies that were super popular when I was in high school, like Blair Witch and Scream and all of those were coming out then. And everyone wanted to go. And I wasn't going to be left out. But I would come home and be like, Heather, can I sleep on the floor in your room? Because I'm really scared. And I don't want to tell my parents because then they won't let me go. You know what I mean? So I'd be in my sister's room.
Yeah.
I once bit a boy on a date. That like now the deep stuff comes out, Chuck.
Yeah, I'm ready. Okay. Lay it on.
We wanted to see, I think, like I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Sure.
And it was a first date. So there was no second date. And he was holding my hands and I needed to like cover my eyes, shutting them was not enough. I needed to cover them.
Yeah.
And I like was pulling away and he was like, oh, like I'll hold it tighter or whatever. And just pure instinct, I like bit his hand so I could cover my eyes. Like,
see, now you've got a new Halloween cozy romance kind of thing going on there. Got whole setup for it.
The ending so it goes better.
Yes, much better. Yeah.
But I'm curious, when you were writing Dust and Grimm, like what sort of, because there's so much humor in this book too. I don't want anyone to think that,
I tried to be funny. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But how did you balance the humor and the scary? Because there are some amazing beats where it's like, and then you flip the page and it's like joke. It's okay. So how did you go about that process?
I try to go, when I write now, actually in general, I start at the beginning and I finish at the end. I know a lot of writers skip around. I'm going to write the middle chapter first and then kind of hop around until it's a complete narrative. And I write from the beginning because I, first of all, am not smart enough to skip around. I will completely lose the thread. And then, but I also like to experience the sort of rhythmic ride that the readers are going to go on because I can feel, it's like almost like you're feeling your way through a house in the dark. Like I can kind of feel like where I need to step up and where things need to change a little bit. And so as you go and you're like, well, that I was kind of attuned to like, well, I know that's a pretty heavy, either a heavy emotional beat or a scary beat. And so humor, both as a character piece, because here are characters who are leavening and using humor as self-defense, but then also like as a, an author to a reader being like, yeah, it's not all bad. It's going to be funny. And I also think the humor has the ability to heighten the horror because you're kind of like, you're setting them off balance on their one heel. And then suddenly you're like scary again. And like, wait, what? And then you're like funny again. And then it's, kind of just looking past them and they don't know what to do. And they don't know quite where it's going to go next. So if it's all horror, they just kind of get into a pattern of expecting ceaseless kind of bleak something or other. And if it's all too humorous, then it feel like, well, there's no stakes and nothing can hurt anybody in this book and it's all fine. So I kind of want that nice mix of that. So yeah, I don't know. Do you find any sort of switching tone because you're talking about these sort of grief arcs, but you've also got obviously your maximum cozy, maximum Christmas spirit. Like, is it, do you feel like you've got to kind of thread that needle just a little bit there too, to keep it rhythmic?
Yes. And in like keeping it in the nuance. And so it's not, because especially with teenagers, they're not always aware of what they're processing or why they're doing the things they're doing. And a lot of the comedic beats in here come from the kids. You know, she's a babysitter. There are these kids in her life that, you know, at first she's super excited to spend this time with them because she adores them. And now all of a sudden there are these obstacles because, you know, there's this guy. And so managing those sorts of things. There's a scene where she and Wyatt have sat down to lunch in like the ski lodge, and the 4-year-old is there. And they're still kind of prickly. Like there's a lot of tension between them, but like it's just starting to thaw. And the little boy keeps trying, saying, I need this. So she keeps having to get up and get him a fork and get him ketchup or whatever. And he's like, I need. And the two of them are trying to outdo each other with like, oh, I know what you need. It's this. And he's like, no. And the other one's like, it's this. And they're like, no. And it's like this competitive, they're kind of competing to show who knows Jack best,
Right.
you know, who should be there. And it turns out that he needs to pee, you know? And so like, and he still has his snowsuit on, and Noelle's like, I've got
so
this.
that's the whole practice.
Yeah. And then like she's scooping him up and trying to shed the layers and realizes like, I don't know where the bathroom is. So it's like that nuance of how can we advance multiple things at the same time? Like how can I show their characters in the scene, you know, keep that tension high, but also have like a humor beat too.
Yeah, you're carrying triple duty on that, really, realistically. Do you have good advice on how you create tension between characters? Because really it seems like romance counterintuitively thrives on that tension, which
it doesn't
feel romantic. Tension is, but it is, and it's what builds that. So do you have any like tips on writing characters sort of to get that place?
I mean, and I think you do it so well with your siblings in your book too. It's not romantic tension, but you've got these siblings who are meeting for the first time and having to figure out who the other person is.
Yeah.
And I think writing tension varies so much with the relationship between those two individuals. It's a lot of figuring out what does each of them want and what each of them need. How do they complement each other? Because it's not just, I'm going to write this character A and character B, and, you know, they can be anyone. Like it has to be crafted that they complement. And so for these two, a lot of the tension comes from the idea that Noelle thought she knew who Wyatt was. You know, he goes to this school that she's idealized. She's watched all his ballet videos online. She thinks she knows who he is. And all of a sudden he's a real person. He's not an ideal. And he has his own wants and needs, and they both kind of have secrets from each other. And their wants are at an impasse, you know, and they're kind of falling for each other in spite of themselves. She's falling for him despite the fact that he's not this person she had built this crush around. And he's falling for her despite the fact that she's an obstacle in what he had hoped to accomplish this week. So I think the hardest piece is making it not contrived. You know, when you're writing a romance arc or a friendship arc or whatever, where you're going to end. And a lot of times I do write out of order, depending on what I'm writing. My thrillers, I never wrote out of order. You know, the one I'm working on now, I didn't write out of order because the clues have to reveal in a certain order. You know, same with Get a Clue, which is a mystery. I wrote that mostly in order. But usually I write out of order. I know where they're heading. I know what a lot of the beats are. But it just can't feel contrived. Like the things you throw in their way, you know, we've all seen a movie or watched something where it's like someone misinterprets something or whatever. And you're like, God, if you just had a conversation, you know, if you and like with middle grade, a lot of times it's like, if you just told one adult,
anyway, stop keeping that in. Why would you do that? It feels almost plot silly at that point. So contrived. Yeah. I think part of the key there, and it, you know, obviously it's the focus of your book, is like creating great characters who people really care about and want to follow wherever they may go. And that gets you, I find it gets everybody out of so much problem, because I will follow any great character into the jaws of hell for whatever reason. It does,
Right. I mean, Anne of Green Gables is a great example of that, which, you know, again, may not be your wheelhouse, but
no, absolutely. No, it's absolutely perfect. Yeah. And there's so many iterations of that story work because of that. And
one of the novels is totally epistolary, and it's just letters to people in town.
Yeah.
And they're so mundane.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you will follow it because of her as a character.
Right.
So are you plot first, character first, or setting first?
Oh, like what do I come up with first?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to know. I mean, it's kind of different for every book, but usually there's some like seed of an idea, and I never know what to do with it until I have characters. So there's no story until I have characters, and it's not even having a plot. I just usually have some like the mechanism behind Wanderers, where people start sleepwalking to an unknown destination, lived with me for like 4 or 5 years. I just didn't know what to do with it because it's like, writers treat ideas like they're gems, but like I would say, they're costume jewelry. It's all how you wear it. And I had no way to wear that costume jewelry yet. I had no place to go with it. So it was mostly just figuring out the characters, and then from there, I kind of know what to do. How about you? Do you have like is it a situation, is it a plot, or?
I think it's very similar. Ralph Fletcher, who is a kind of a writing guru in the education sphere, has this concept of things I can't let go of. And it's a section in his writer's notebook, which, in schools, you often have kids keep a writer's notebook, but it's like the things he gloms onto. So like those sleepwalking people, so these ideas that are kernels, like story kernels that you can't let go of, and that eventually you gather enough of them together and build something out of it. Yeah. And I think that a lot of mine kind of come from that, whether it's a snippet of conversation or a news article or just something I've pondered about for a long time. And eventually I gather enough together and kind of craft something out of that.
Yeah, we're like hermit crabs, just like making our shells. That's pretty interesting. That's cool. We have like 10 minutes before we start taking questions. So I think we need to resolve the
which is a better holiday.
We've been avoiding the hard question at this point.
We lured you all here.
Yeah. And that question is, of course, why is Halloween obviously superior to Christmas? I feel like that's the obvious question we need to ask. No, make your case. Why is Christmas the superior? Because I mean, I have my feelings on this, but I'm surely you.
Oh, we have to like actually debate it. I thought we were going to do like categories. Well, Christmas is longer.
Okay.
You can get costumes for Christmas and wear them all year versus one night.
That's all right. Okay.
Candy corn are horrible.
True. You're not wrong about that.
Have you heard of the Thanksgiving candy corn?
Yeah, and I haven't tried it yet. I kind of want to try.
Everywhere, Chuck, to buy a bag that I was going to make you like eat on air. I was like going to wrap them and give them to your wife and be like, don't let him see what's in here. You cannot find them anywhere. This was like my devious plan that like did not come to fruition.
You could have just dipped regular candy corn in like turkey stuffing and stuff, I guess.
That would have just been mean.
A jar of gravy with candy corn floating around it.
But yeah, I think it's just, there's something so magic about the idea that everything is bright and sparkly and we're going to hang lights on it and we're going to sing these songs and we're going to make Christmas cookies. And there's something sweet about and safe about a lot of those things. And the idea that like you're home and there's a fireplace and let's curl up and read, and versus like, let's go out in the night and be scared.
Yeah. Exactly. You're right. That's why Halloween is better, because you get to Halloween has a few advantages on Christmas, I think, in that regard. You did note that Christmas is longer, and I think that's a point in favor of Halloween, because Halloween sometimes, some years, I feel like Christmas drags on a little bit, and not like in the family way, like, you get that like nice week to 10-day build up, but in the like, you can't buy Halloween stuff now in a store. It's Christmas already. And you start hearing the songs and they start kind of doing the like, oh God, I can't stop singing these songs. And Halloween doesn't have that. There's no Halloween songs except for like.
Oh, yes, there is. Like 5 pumpkins sitting on a gate. I can get the kid to go there.
Oh my gosh, I need to hear that one. So, and generally, I feel like the Christmas food is great. However, in addition to, the whole present complexity, because presents are hard. Yeah. Having to buy everybody presents and get presents, it can be a whole fraught decision. And then all the Black Friday build up and all of that. But like Halloween, what do you get? You get candy, and everyone just likes candy. Or you get all, if you go to that house, you get toothbrushes. But either way, and you can get an apple, and that's another advantage, I think, honestly, to Halloween is it is apple season. So you get a lot of good like apple adjacent. It's the harvest. So you have a lot of good like
food in the world. So is apples. So
are they really?
Yes.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. We have that in common.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know what I'm getting you for Christmas.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
all
then
right.
I want to know what is your favorite Halloween movie? Because there's only one right answer.
Halloween.
Mhm.
The movie Halloween. Yeah.
Oh, no, it's The Worst Witch with Tim Curry in it.
No, it's Halloween because it's even in the name, Halloween. And
I was like, no, answer the question, Chuck.
it's literally it. I mean, there's just I'm not even sure there are other Halloween movies except Halloween in all of the Halloween movies.
Wrong.
No, I haven't seen
Right.
The Worst Witch.
Oh my god, I have it on DVD. We come over. We'll do a movie night, and Tim Curry plays the Grand Wizard.
I do love Tim Curry. He is the greatest.
There's songs. You have to prepare yourself.
All right.
And
it
Miss
feels
Bliss-
like a stealth Christmas movie if there's songs, but okay.
No.
Although Nightmare Before Christmas has songs. I mean, you really have to watch that eventually. That's another one.
We'll do
I'll
double
watch The Worst Witch if you watch Nightmare Before Christmas.
Okay, double feature.
Okay. Yeah. I agree with that.
All right. Well, what's your favorite Christmas movie?
I don't know. I'm gonna see. That's the thing. I don't know that I know of any Christmas movies I'm super enticed by. What's yours?
Elf.
Oh, Elf is pretty great. Though I hated that for some reason the first time I saw it. I don't know why. I feel like I was thinking I was too cool. Like, you know how kids today are like, that's cringe. And they're like, ugh. I think back then I was like, that's cringe. But then I watched it recently. I'm like, this movie's amazing. What was I thinking?
That movie is exactly my brand of humor. Where like no one's feelings are being hurt. It's not at anyone's expense. It's just very sweet and innocent. Like, I don't find A Christmas Story funny at all. Like, that movie upset me.
No, yeah. I mean, I like Christmas Story, but it's first of all, it's really overdone. Like at this point, like, we get it. Christmas Story, like your time here is over. I don't know if there's any. There was a great. What's that Santa movie that was on Netflix recently? It's an art animated. It's like a mythic kid with the mail. The guy with the mail. It's
yes.
We enjoyed that.
Someone stick it in the comments. It's so good.
Yeah, the Netflix. It's like, is it Klaus?
Yes, it is.
Klaus, right? Yeah, it's Klaus. I enjoyed that a whole lot. That was really moving. And I didn't like at first, like I started to kind of get through it. I'm like, oh, it feels a little cynical, a little like whatever. But then nope, it just worked out.
Yeah, lots of depth. All right, last question. What was your favorite Halloween and why was it last year at my house?
It was your house last year because it was Halloween. No, that was actually honestly really great because in the midst of this pandemic where you don't like know if there's anything normal again, like you're like, will anything happen again that's normal? That felt normal and cool and wonderful in a way. So thank you for doing that. Honestly, it was like a really like an anchor in a particularly turbulent, strange time.
Our egg hunt. We did an egg hunt, a Halloween.
We did an egg hunt, a Halloween egg hunt. It worked, except y'all hide eggs too seriously. Like you're like Easter might be your favorite. Yeah, you might be your favorite holiday is Easter because you were like ninjas at hiding that stuff. They were like, I felt like they were in the chimneys and trees. Like they were.
We found them like weeks later, and that's the time my youngest was helping me fill them. I remember I didn't realize he'd use like 3 rolls of quarters. I was like, oh.
There was money in those. There was like treasure in those hills. Yeah.
He's like, I put 8 quarters in that one. I was like, oh, good.
My son got some eggs. He opened a 401k out of that, I think, pretty much.
That one's now a weapon.
You don't throw that at anybody. It's dangerous. No. Dangerous stuff.
But then on Easter, we built gingerbread houses as research for Wyatt Christmas because there's a gingerbread house contest. So it was 2020. You know, you did what you did in any order.
Nothing matters anymore. Yeah, it's all. Yeah. So, out of all seriousness, is Christmas your favorite holiday, or are there other dark horses in the wings?
I do really love Christmas. I really love it. I'm also kind of like a bit of a like. We will stay home and we will stay in our pajamas, you know. If you want to see us, you can come to us, but you know, we're not going anywhere. Like it's like cozy to
you down. Yeah. So speaking of going out, it's Halloween. What do you guys do? Because you do like a whole thing, don't you? You have like a family costume. Do I remember that correctly?
We do, and we run a 5K in it. We actually just did that this past weekend, our 5K in our costumes. But we were doing it virtually, so it was just us running through the neighborhood in our costumes, and you know we split out for all different paces.
That's great. What is your costume?
We are Scooby Gang this year. So Matt is Shaggy.
Sure.
One of the twins is Fred. The other is the Mystery Machine, which is this pop-up tent, like a play tent.
You're making one of the kids be a mystery machine. That's
He's running
amazing.
in it like with straps over his shoulders, and the wind's blowing, and he's like
He's the
wind
man.
resistance. And
That's
then
awesome.
the little guy is Scrappy. I'm Daphne, and this was all centered around our dog, who is going to be Scooby.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
That's awesome. You have the best dog, by the way.
we do have the best dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a
Well,
favorite?
your dogs are pretty awesome too.
Our dogs are awesome. Yeah. No, but your dog is. I would trade ours for yours. I don't tell them I said that. But favorite candy? Do you have a favorite Halloween candy? Anything? Both
Skittles.
of you. You can
Yeah,
Skittles.
Amanda, what's your favorite Halloween candy? She's gonna say
You're
turkey
muted.
flavor
You're muted.
candy corn.
Don't say circus peanuts, or we have to.
Oh my god, no, I'm not a monster. I'm
Okay.
not a character in one of your books, Chuck.
Speaking of circus peanuts,
Are there circus peanuts?
there are circus peanuts in A Kind of Cheesy Love Story by Lauren Morrill.
I love Lauren. I met Lauren
I
years
love an
ago.
opportunity for a book event that just promotes also every other book.
Everyone.
Yes.
Joy of books.
Yeah. I'm a Reese's cup girl. I don't eat them
Okay.
much like IRL, but I love a pumpkin shaped Reese's. I
Mhm.
love a
Have you
novelty
seen the ones?
cake for holiday candy.
They have ones now with potato chips in them. Have you seen these?
I
Ooh.
don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know that
Yeah.
I need the
Crunch.
balance pushed saltier in my
Are
Reese's.
they dill pickle potato
Yeah.
chips? Because that would put it over the
No,
top.
I would put it way over the top. And I like pickled things, but that's too much. And there's ones too that have Reese's pieces inside the Reese's cups with the. Yeah, it's a lot. It's like it's diabetes town.
I would eat both of them separately in the same night.
Yeah, that's
I've
fair.
certainly done that before many times.
Yeah.
But I have a few questions for you guys from our lovely viewing audience, if that's okay.
Before we do those, can we take a minute to congratulate you on your book news that
Yeah, seriously.
yesterday? So
Thanks.
Amanda has her debut novel coming out in the spring, right?
Yeah, July.
But then
Accomplished,
there's more.
which is not only what she is, but it's the title of the book, and I love it so much. I have read that. But
Tiffany
then
did the nicest blurb in the world for
yesterday-
it.
just yesterday, you had some news. Can you share it with everyone? Because I am over the moon about this.
Yes, also, Tiffany, this marks the first time someone's made me do this on a book event that I've hosted for the store. But yes, yesterday, in honor of Halloween week, we announced my second book, which will be coming out in summer of 2023. So like a very close and reasonable time to wait for a book.
Mhm. Oh no, did she just freeze?
Oh, no, she froze.
Oh, am I back?
You back?
Yeah.
I'm
You're
back.
back. You're back.
I'm back. It's fine. But yes, so my second book we announced yesterday, 2023, and it is a gender swapped retelling of Northanger.
I will pitch it. It's Northanger Abbey, gender swapped, called The Ghost is the Metaphor. Am I right?
The ghosts are a metaphor.
Our metaphor.
Nice.
Yeah, it was
Northanger
actually
Abbey is
originally
my
The Ghost is a
favorite.
metaphor, but my agent retelling, and I was like, damn, that'd be a great name for a Hamlet retelling. But yeah, so that's coming out 2023. So
Congrats.
Congratulations.
thanks. Yeah, it's been fun. It's a touch of spook. I can't handle anything spooky, which is why the ghost. But yeah, it should be fun.
You're breaking up a little bit.
My internet's falling apart. But so I'm gonna hop over to the questions because then I don't have to talk as much.
Okay.
But Kelly wants to know if there's a genre that you haven't written in yet that you'd like to write in. For both of you.
Yeah, go for it. Anything?
I think I would like to go middle grade at some point.
You did great
You
at
know,
that. So good.
I taught sixth grade, so that is definitely, right below tends to be where I write now, and I'd like to hit it. But I think I'm intimidated by it because I spent so much time studying it as a teacher. But yeah, that, and I would like to write an adult at some point. I would like to probably write an adult rom-com. That's certainly something I would explore. But yeah, those are probably the two beyond, young adult. But I also am writing more spooky thriller than my other organ trafficking thriller, which was not as spooky. It should be, but it wasn't.
It should be spooky. That's spooky. Yeah. I would do epic fantasy. I would love to try just for because I have strong feelings about it. And, like, it's not even that I'm like a huge fan. I just would like to mess with it.
You would like to show them how it should be done.
Not even know, just how I want it done. Like I want to write the epic fantasy that I want to read.
Very cool.
Geek Home Sweet Home, which is a great YouTube name,
Yeah.
great work there, says, how do you handle referencing music in your books? Do you make fictional versions of real songs and bands, or do you mention real songs but not include the lyrics? Thank you for the advice.
Oh yeah, that's a tough one because there's all kinds of rights issues with the lyrics. So you have to be super cautious and mostly not do it, which is sad. You can maybe get away with certain titles and lines if they're really, if they're in public use, or if they're super limited enough that, well, it could be that lyric, but maybe it's not. Can't do the thing where I'm just going to do a bunch of lyrics. I say as I had just finished writing a book which relies on people understanding certain lyrics to books. So or songs. So we'll see how that goes. I know I'm going to be even there, probably cutting some things.
I did it once in my debut when I didn't know better. There were 2 different bands I quoted, and they were central to the plot. I could not, because one of the characters was a musician. There was a mix, like a playlist, and I had to go about getting the rights and the permissions. And one was like Stevie Wonder's Superstitious, and I paid like an ungodly amount of money to use them. And the other was a song from Something Corporate with Andrew McMahon, and his people could not have been nicer. He had been through leukemia, and the character in the book was going through leukemia, and they were like, of course you can use it. Did not make me pay. Years later, I got to then give him a signed copy of the book, and he was like, he literally gave it to his handler and was like, I remember this, put this on the tour bus. I'm going to read it as soon as I get on there. And this is randomly full circle, but his first book came out yesterday called 3 Pianos, and One More Page did their weekly post of like all the books that came out this week, and Wyatt Christmas and 3 Pianos were like this. And I was like, oh man, my book is touching Andrews.
Oh, I love that.
But
That's
yeah,
cool.
but since then I just make up fake bands, or I reference the fake band that was in that book. Everything is like empty orchestra.
That's cool.
Yeah, that seems like the way to do it. Just create your own like extended universe of your own, like Tiffany Schmidt cinematic universe of fake music.
Yeah.
Kelly wants to know, what are you reading recently or right now that you love? Tiffany, we know you're reading Dustin Grimm.
I am reading.
Besides that.
Hopefully you're liking it. I don't know.
I love it.
All the words in your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else are you reading right now? Are you reading anything else, or have you read anything else recently?
I just finished The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, which is an adult romance, which is STEM-centered, and I am here for STEM-centered female protagonists. I mean, talk nerdy to me, which
I was about to say talk nerdy to me. So yeah.
But talk nerdy to me is YA, and this is not YA. Make that very clear. It's set at the PhD level. But I am so here for women in STEM, and I loved it so much. It was fantastic. I also just reread In a Holidays, which is Christmas rom-com. I'm trying to think what else I've read recently that I've loved, because there's been a bunch, and of course my brain goes blank every time.
I just finished. It's coming out. I don't know when in 2022. Kirsten White's Hide, which is people are chosen to play a game of hide and seek in an abandoned amusement park, and it is a terrifying thriller. A short, sharp shock. Really good. Delilah Dawson's Violence is a little more epic. It's a pandemic book, but it's not the kind of pandemic you think. It's a pandemic of a disease that causes outbreaks of inexplicable violence. And it's sort of about 3 generations of women in a family who sort of find their way out of trauma and out of abusive relationships during that particular time. It was fantastic. Really blew me away.
Wow. Those are 2 very different reading piles too. Which
very, very different. Yeah, totally. A little different slates.
So I have a question for you guys. It's kind of less of a question and more of a prompt. I want you guys to create a perfect holiday that combines the best parts of Christmas and the best parts of Halloween, And it can't just be Nightmare Before Christmas. It needs to be separate from that.
Like I can't do Nightmare Before Christmas.
That's true.
That's right. Yeah.
Hmm.
Boy, I don't know. I mean, obviously, like I think the stay-at-home cozy side is what you would keep with Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So you don't go out for the Halloween thing, but I do think something about dressing up. You know, in the Christmas, like it's almost like you're trying to scare away Krampus by dressing up sinister costumes.
I think you're wrapping all the bones of a skeleton in separate packages and putting them under the tree. And it's like a contest to see who can reassemble their skeleton the fastest.
See, there you go. I like that. Okay. And then
the loser has to eat candy corn.
Yeah, candy corn, which are just scarecrow teeth. I feel like they're just taking them from a scarecrow, and he's mad, very mad about it. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I think the Christmas tree needs some changes. Like ornaments are still key, but it can't just be a green. Maybe there's apples. There should be apples under that.
I was going to say maybe it's candy. Maybe that's where you hang all the candy as ornaments.
There you go.
There's got to be apple cider.
Has to be apple cider. We do that during Christmas too, because you know what? Apple cider is eternal.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
This is a good
maybe less assembling toys, more assembling skeletons.
Yeah.
Are the skeletons easier to assemble? I mean, I'm sure you've assembled some toys between both of you, but are skeletons better?
Probably easier given some toys. They can be hard.
Yeah.
That can be a whole thing. That's a whole frustrating day of assembling toys.
That's fair. That's fair.
And I think you need to set the holiday like during the summer, because that way it doesn't cross over into Halloween or Christmas. Yeah, because that way you get you can have some extra fun there.
Perfect. Well, I think we set you guys up nicely for your next co-written book.
There you go. Good. Tag team.
So I will take like 3% cut off of that. That's fine. I'll take it out so you guys won't even notice. Feller Wanderers, any plans for another book of that genre?
In that genre, I mean, all my books are, I guess, in some sense in that genre, but I do have a sequel. I have a sequel to Wanderers coming out in summer of 2022. It's called Wayward. And it was weird writing that during the pandemic, because like my brain broke a little bit during the pandemic in terms of my writing brain. So I wrote another 280,000 word book, and I kind of didn't really remember much about what I wrote. Like I started in September and finished it in, I think, July. And I was like, I don't remember this book at all, barely. I know I did it. I know it occurred, but I don't really, it's kind of foggy. And then also to write a post-pandemic novel in the midst of a pandemic was weird.
So was editing like a period of discovery then? Like you're like, oh, I forgot this scene?
I haven't edited it yet. That's the thing.
Okay.
Like I'm getting, I think, my edit letter maybe even this week. So we shall see what happens. But I will say that editing was really where my brain worked well during the pandemic. Like I didn't write Dustin Grimm during the pandemic. I wrote it before, but I edited it during, and that in both Book of Accidents. So I couldn't really write anything new at the beginning, but my like analytical brain was happy to have something to puzzle over. And like just like a Rubik's Cube, like just do this Rubik's Cube for a while and you'll be fine. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Do you guys have a preference generally between drafting and editing?
Both. I mean, I think there's so much fun in the discovery of drafting and like the happy surprises and, you know, the things that you create along the way. But I also really love revising. It feels like logic puzzles, you know, trying to make it better. And I really love that too.
Yeah, I don't really get when there are writers who like, I don't like writing. Whatever. Like I do. I like it all. I like writing and I like editing. I like the discovery process of writing, but I also like that editing is sort of when you find the book. Like the book is in this pile of things you put out, and then it's like the bones. Now it's time to put the bones together in a different way.
I do not like copy edits. I will put that out.
Copy edits are terrible, especially if you have a bad copy editor. Not a bad one, but like a really rigorous one who's like, this is not like you got to have some voice in there. Like ease off the throttle there, robot.
So just a couple more things, since we've only got about 5 minutes left. And I do want to make sure you guys have time to do your wrap up and, you know, shout about your books more. But what is your best Halloween costume? Or I'll accept the best Halloween costume that you've like done for your kid.
Oh, your kid has had some amazing ones.
Yeah, and this year's is intense. There's a character in a game called Bendy and the Ink Machine. It's weird because my son is starting to get into creepy stuff, and he was very much not into creepy stuff. And I wasn't into creepy stuff as a kid until I was maybe like 12, and then I was all creepy like all the time. Story-wise, not like me personally like smoking. But so he kind of, he watched Coraline, I think, last year and was so freaked out about it, like nightmares. I'm like, well, I'm super upset. And I was like, yeah, but no, we watched it and see everything turned out okay and the parents were fine. And he's like, no, none of that, never again. But something in there, I think it kind of unlatched a gate, and it was like he kind of wanted to like traipse into that creepy to sort of feel it out, and he's kind of been getting more into it. So there's a game called Bendy and the Ink Machine, and one of the sort of monsters in it is called the Projectionist, and it's this dude with a projector for a head, like an old-timey sepia tone projector, and it flickers light, and if you're caught in the light, he comes after you. And he's covered in like ink blobs are dripping down him because it's a whole like a cartoon world where like came alive, and it's like almost like sort of an aesthetic of like 30s era Disney, like Mickey Mouse, Steamboat Willie kind of stuff. And so that is the costume he is going to be the Projectionist. So he has this big
That's awesome
projector head with a light that shines out in a black bodysuit. It's terrifying.
Oh,
I walked in the other night from an event and he like came at me. I was like, that's the Projectionist. Terrifying.
Oh, I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
I think ours, we always do family costumes, and I think one of my favorites was the year we did Princess Bride. And I was Buttercup, and one of the twins was Inigo Montoya, and the other, was Gary Elway's character. And my husband was the grandpa. We sprayed his hair, and he walked around with his glasses in the book.
Peter Falk, it's so good.
That's awesome.
The best, though, this was the year our youngest was still in the stroller. It was the last race before we made him run it. You're 5 now. You're 4 now. You're 4 now. You need to run a 5K. Was last year. But he was in a mouse costume in the stroller with like a sign that said ROUS. He was like the rodent of unusual size in the stroller.
Perfect.
So that one, and we had posted a picture, and Carrie saw it, and I didn't tag him or anything, and he was like, "Look at this," and I was like, "I will never be cooler."
I hope you like screenshotted when he said that.
Oh, I definitely
and, framed it. Yes. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Awesome. Well, we're just about at 8:00. So thank you guys so much for doing this. This has been so fun to listen to. And to be part of. Any last thoughts, words, hopes, dreams you want to share with the class before we go? I did, by the way, the buy link for both Chuck and Tiffany's books is in the chat. You can scroll up to the top, and I'll pop it in there one last time before we go. We have signed book plates for both of their books at One More Page. And it is available if you order it tonight, probably in time for Christmas. I can't guarantee that legally, but I bet it would get there.
Not Halloween, unless you're
not Halloween.
Unless you're doing curbside, you're not getting it for Halloween.
And even for curbside, I wouldn't guarantee it. But probably. But again, I don't want to guarantee anything.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you for having us. Congrats again, Amanda. Thank you, Chuck and Dustin Grimm. Get it.
Yeah,
then you can talk about it because I've got that much left.
I will. Yeah, I'm dreaming of Wyatt Christmas. Congratulations. Excellent release week. I hope it's wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Obviously, I think we've all agreed that Halloween rules and is best. Good job, everybody.
I am not very good at
Christmas is the best one. I don't know.
We did. Sorry, you were breaking up. I didn't hear anything you guys said except that Halloween was amazing.
I said, I'm not very good at arguing. Is that the lesson we learned today? I'm like,
that's good. Good.
Point.
Good enough.
You have not writing any debate team books for her future YA novels, but that's all right.
It's fun. It's all good.
All right. Well, have a great night, everyone. And thank you for joining us at One More Page. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Good night.